The stars had never looked so close. Captain Elena Vasquez stood before the wide viewing window of the diplomatic vessel Olive Branch, watching the darkness of space ripple with distant light. Behind her, the bridge crew worked quietly at their stations, checking systems and rechecking coordinates. This was the moment humanity had dreamed about for centuries. They were about to meet someone else. The ship had traveled for 3 weeks since leaving Earth's solar system. The new, faster-than-light drive hummed beneath the deck plates, a sound that still seemed impossible to Elena. Just 5 years ago, breaking the light barrier had been science fiction. Now humanity was knocking on an alien civilization's door. "Captain, we're receiving a response to our transmission," said Communications Officer James Park. His voice carried barely controlled excitement. "It's mathematical. Prime numbers just like we sent them." Elena felt her heart race. "Send the next sequence. Let's show them we understand." The Olive Branch had been designed specifically for this mission. No weapons, no military equipment. Every surface was marked with symbols of peace from Earth's many cultures. The crew of 60 included linguists, scientists, artists, and diplomats. They carried gifts of music, art, and knowledge. This was humanity's handshake to the universe. "Second sequence acknowledged," Park reported. "Captain, they're sending something else. It looks like coordinates." Dr. Sarah Chen, the lead xenolinguist, leaned forward in her seat. "They want to meet us. They're giving us a location." Elena allowed herself a small smile. "Set course. Slow approach. Let's not spook them." The coordinates led them to a region of space near a purple-tinted star. As the Olive Branch dropped out of FTL, the crew gasped collectively. A station hung in the void before them, a beautiful structure of curved surfaces and flowing lines that seemed to grow organically rather than being built. Soft blue lights pulsed along its surface in patterns that almost looked like breathing. "Scan for life signs," Elena ordered. "Multiple contacts, Captain. Different biology than ours, but definitely alive. They're waiting for us." Elena took a deep breath. Everything humanity did in the next few hours would echo through history. "Open a channel. All frequencies." She stepped forward, straightened her uniform, and spoke carefully. "This is Captain Elena Vasquez of Earth, representing humanity. We come in peace and friendship. We ask for the honor of meeting you." The response came in broken English, clearly synthesized by a computer struggling with human language. "Welcome, travelers from Earth. We are Zaltharan. Long have we wondered if others existed. Today wonder becomes truth. Please join us." The docking procedure took an hour. Every movement was careful and deliberate. When the airlocks finally connected, Elena stood with her team in the corridor, waiting. The door opened with a soft hiss. The Zaltharans were beautiful. They stood slightly taller than humans, with long limbs and graceful movements. Their skin shifted with colors, bioluminescent patterns flowing across their bodies like slow-moving auroras. Their faces were elegant, with large eyes that seemed to hold ancient wisdom. They wore flowing robes that moved as if underwater. The lead Zaltharan stepped forward. Patterns of gold and blue rippled across their skin. When they spoke, a translation device around their neck converted the musical sounds into English. "I am Elder Thessian. For 3,000 years my people have looked to the stars and felt alone. Today that loneliness ends. Welcome, humans of Earth," Elena bowed as they had practiced. "The honor is ours, Elder Thessian. Humanity thanks you for your courage in meeting us." Over the following days, the meeting became a celebration. The Zaltharans had never known war. Their entire civilization had evolved past conflict millennia ago. They lived in harmony, guided by philosophy and spiritual connection. Their technology was based on biological systems, growing their tools and ships rather than manufacturing them. Dr. Chen and her team worked tirelessly to bridge the language gap. Each breakthrough brought both species closer together. The Zaltharans shared their history, their art, their understanding of the universe. Humanity offered its own knowledge, diverse and hard-won through centuries of struggle and growth. "Your species is remarkable," Elder Thessian told Elena during a private meeting. The elder's skin glowed with warm orange tones. "You have known great conflict, yet you seek peace. You have suffered, yet you reach outward with hope. This is the mark of a truly ascending species." Elena felt pride and humility mixing in her chest. "We've made many mistakes, Elder. We're still learning. That's why this meeting means so much to us. We have so much to learn from you." "And we from you," Thessian replied. "Your resilience, your diversity of thought and culture, your determination to overcome your nature. These are precious gifts. I believe our peoples will grow together as friends. The cultural exchange continued. Human musicians played for Zaltharan audiences. Zaltharan artists created living sculptures that changed with the observer's emotions. Scientists shared theories about the universe. Children's drawings from Earth schools were displayed alongside Zaltharan poetry that had been composed over decades. On the 5th day, as Elena reviewed the progress reports, she felt something she hadn't experienced in years. Pure, uncomplicated hope. Humanity had reached for the stars and found friends. Not conquerors, not threats, but genuine friends who welcomed them into a larger galactic community. Captain, Park's voice cut through her thoughts. We're detecting an FTL signature. Something just entered the system. Elena frowned. We're the only Earthship out this far. Identify. Running recognition now, Captain. Park's voice went cold. It's a military signature. UESS classification. It's one of ours, but it's not responding to hails. Elena's stomach dropped. Get me the ship registry, now. The data flashed across her screen and her blood turned to ice. UESS Retribution. Admiral Marcus Caney commanding. A warship. A massive, heavily armed dreadnought that had no business being anywhere near a first contact situation. Get me Admiral Caney immediately, Elena ordered. And alert Elder Thessian. We need to explain this. But even as she spoke, the Retribution dropped out of FTL space, emerging like a dark blade against the stars. The warship dwarfed the olive branch. Its hull was angular and aggressive, bristling with weapon systems. Railguns, missile batteries, energy cannons designed to crack open hostile ships. It was a vessel built for war, and it had just appeared at humanity's most delicate diplomatic moment. Elena watched the hope of 5 days begin to crumble. The Zaltharan station's lights flickered, changing from welcoming blue to alarmed yellow. On the view screen, she could see the Zaltharan ships backing away, their organic hulls pulsing with distress. Captain Admiral Caney is broadcasting. System-wide transmission. Elena closed her eyes, knowing whatever came next would change everything. Caney's voice filled the bridge, hard and cold. This is Admiral Marcus Caney of the United Earth Space Service. To all vessels in this system, be advised that Earth's interests are now under military protection. Humanity negotiates from a position of strength. We will not be vulnerable. The bridge fell silent. Elena felt the weight of disaster settling onto her shoulders. Everything they had built, all the trust and friendship carefully nurtured over 5 precious days, was shattering like glass. Elder Thessian's face appeared on the communication screen. The warm colors had drained from their skin, leaving only pale, frightened blues and grays. Captain Vasquez, the elder said quietly, is this humanity's true face? Elena had no answer that would make this right. The UESS Retribution hung in space like a predator among sheep. Its dark hull absorbed light rather than reflecting it, making the warship look like a hole torn in the fabric of space itself. On the bridge of the olive branch, Captain Elena Vasquez stared at the monster ship and felt her life's work dying. Get me Admiral Caney, private channel, she ordered, her voice tight with barely controlled fury. The Admiral's face appeared on her personal screen. Marcus Caney was a legend in Earth's military. Scarred face, gray hair cut military short, eyes that had seen too much combat during humanity's brutal colonial wars on Mars and the outer settlements. He looked at Elena like she was a child playing at grown-up games. Captain Vasquez, quite a little party you've got here. What are you doing here, Admiral? This is a diplomatic mission. You have no authorization to be in this system. Caney's smile was cold. I have authorization from people who matter, Captain. People who understand that you don't walk into a stranger's house without a gun in your pocket. These people aren't strangers anymore. They're potential allies, friends. And you just brought a dreadnought to a peace conference. Potential allies, Caney repeated, his voice mocking. You've known them for 5 days. 5 days, and you're ready to trust them with humanity's future? That's not diplomacy, Captain. That's naivety. Elena's hands clenched into fists. The Zaltharans haven't shown a single sign of aggression. Their entire civilization abandoned warfare 3,000 years ago. They welcomed us with open arms, so they say. And maybe they're telling the truth. Or maybe they're setting us up. Maybe they're studying us, finding our weaknesses, waiting until we're comfortable before they strike. Caney leaned forward. I've fought in 3 wars, Captain. I've seen what happens when humans trust too easily. I won't let that happen to our species. You don't get to make that call. Earth Command will have your head for this. Kaney's expression didn't change. Earth Command is more divided than you know. Some people there agree with me. They understand that the universe is dangerous and humanity needs to show strength from the start. If we appear weak, we'll be conquered or enslaved. Better to be feared than destroyed. The channel cut off before Elena could respond. She turned to face her bridge crew. They looked shocked, angry, and helpless. Everything they had worked for was unraveling. "Get me Elder Thessian," Elena said quietly. The Zaltharan Elder appeared on the main view screen. The beautiful colors that had danced across their skin during the past days were gone. Now Thessian glowed with sickly yellows and grays. Colors that Elena's team had learned indicated fear and distress. "Elder, please, let me explain. Admiral Kaney does not speak for all of humanity. He represents a faction, a military group that fears the unknown. The majority of Earth wanted this peace." Thessian's voice was sad, almost pitying. "Captain Vasquez, we have scanned your warship. The weapons it carries are terrifying. Devices that split atoms to create massive explosions. Magnetic accelerators that fire projectiles at fractions of light speed. Energy weapons we cannot even fully understand. That ship could destroy our entire station in moments. It could sterilize a planet. We would never—" "You came in a ship of peace," Thessian continued. "You brought gifts and offered friendship. We believed you. But now your warship appears and we see the truth. Humanity is not ready for peace. You still think in terms of predator and prey, threat and defense. This is not your fault. You are a young species. But we cannot risk our people's safety on hope." Dr. Chen stepped forward. "Elder Thessian, please. Not all humans think like Admiral Kaney. Many of us have moved past violence. We've built a civilization that values peace. Yet you still build warships," Thessian observed. "Your peaceful civilization creates weapons powerful enough to end worlds. Your diplomats come with one hand extended in friendship while the other hides a knife. Perhaps you do not even see the contradiction." On the tactical display, Elena watched the Zaltharan vessels slowly backing away from the station. More ships were arriving. Elegant organic craft that looked like they had been grown rather than built. They were surrounding the human vessels but keeping their distance like frightened animals cornered by wolves. Admiral Kaney's voice suddenly boomed over open channels, broadcasting to every ship in the system. "To all Zaltharan vessels, we mean you no harm. The retribution is here as protection for our diplomatic team. Surely you understand the need for caution during first contact. We're simply being prudent." Elena wanted to scream. Kaney was making it worse with every word. The concept of protection implied threat. To the Zaltharans who had abandoned weapons millennia ago, the very idea of bringing a warship to a peaceful meeting was incomprehensible and terrifying. "Admiral Kaney," Thessian spoke directly to the warship, "your vessel carries enough destructive power to devastate our homeworld. Yet you call this prudent. In our language, we have a word for species that cannot imagine peace without the shadow of violence. We call them Shakhtar, predators who wear the mask of prey." The communication channel went silent. Elena could feel the weight of that word settling over the bridge. Predators. That's what humanity had become in Zaltharan eyes. Not potential friends. Not fellow travelers in the cosmos. Predators. "Elder, please," Elena tried again. "Give us a chance to make this right. Let me return to Earth and address this situation. Kaney doesn't represent our government, doesn't he?" Thessian's voice was gentle but firm. "Captain, we have been monitoring your communications. Not invading your privacy, but your ship's transmissions are quite loud. We know that Admiral Kaney has support from powerful figures in your government. We know that many humans agreed with sending him here. This is not one rogue individual. This is a symptom of your civilization's disease." "What disease?" Dr. Chen asked. "Fear," Thessian replied. "You are so afraid of being hurt that you hurt others first. You are so afraid of appearing weak that you must always demonstrate strength. You cannot imagine a universe where strength is measured by wisdom rather than weapons. Until humanity heals this disease, we cannot be friends. We can only be potential victims." The Elder's image shifted, addressing someone off-screen in musical Zaltharan language. Then Thessian turned back to the humans one final time. "Captain Vasquez, you have one solar rotation to leave our space. Take your peace ship and your warship both. Return to Earth. Tell your people that the Zaltharan Collective will share what happened here with our allied species. We will warn them that humanity is not ready for galactic community. Perhaps in a century or a millennium, your species will grow beyond its fear. When that day comes, if it comes, We will welcome you again, but not today. Elder, please, goodbye, Captain. I truly wish things had been different. I believe you are sincere. But sincerity is not enough. The screen went dark. Around the station, Zaltharan ships began activating their drives, preparing to escort the human vessels out of their territory. They moved with obvious reluctance and fear, like peaceful farmers forced to chase away dangerous animals. Elena turned to face her crew. Some were crying. Others looked angry. All of them looked betrayed. Communications, send a priority message to Earth Command. Tell them what happened here. Tell them Admiral Caney has destroyed First Contact and potentially isolated humanity from galactic civilization. Yes, Captain. Elena walked to the viewing window and stared out at the Retribution. Somewhere on that warship, Admiral Caney probably thought he had won. He had shown alien civilization that humanity was strong, that they wouldn't be pushed around or intimidated. He had protected Earth's interests with overwhelming force, but he had also ensured that humanity would face the universe alone. The galaxy had opened its arms to welcome them, and humanity had responded with weapons. The peaceful first encounter was over. The age of isolation had begun, and Elena knew with terrible certainty that this was only the beginning of the consequences. When the galaxy learned what happened here, when other species heard that humanity came bearing gifts in one hand and planet-killing weapons in the other, every door would close. The stars had never looked so far away. The news spread through the galaxy like fire through dry grass. Within days, every civilized species within 100 light-years had heard about humanity's betrayal. The story grew with each telling, becoming darker and more sinister. The peaceful first contact that had ended with a warship's arrival became legend, a cautionary tale about trusting unknown species. Captain Elena Vasquez sat in a small office on Earth, staring at reports from across the galaxy. 6 weeks had passed since the disastrous first contact. She had been recalled to Earth immediately, her ship impounded, her crew scattered. Now she spent her days reading about the consequences of those 5 days among the stars. The Zaltharan Collective had shared their sensor data with the Galactic Forum, a loose alliance of peaceful species. The reports were damning. Images of the Retribution bristling with weapons. Energy readings that showed humanity possessed nuclear weapons, antimatter warheads, and experimental plasma cannons. Tactical analysis that proved the warship could sterilize a planet in hours. It gets worse, said Dr. Sarah Chen, entering the office with another stack of documents. The linguist looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes. The Forum has classified humanity as a Category 4 threat. That puts us in the same class as the Kresh Raiders and the Vordak Swarm. Elena felt sick. The Kresh and Vordak were species known throughout the galaxy as conquerors and destroyers. They were the monsters that peaceful civilizations built defenses against. We're not raiders, Elena said quietly. We came in peace. With a warship 5 minutes behind us, Chen replied bitterly. From their perspective, we're either liars or so internally divided that we're dangerous anyway. They don't know which is worse. On Earth, the political situation had become chaos. Admiral Caney had returned to a hero's welcome from his supporters. Half the planet saw him as a savior who had protected humanity from potential danger. The other half saw him as a war criminal who had destroyed humanity's only chance at joining galactic civilization. The military faction that supported Caney held rallies in major cities. Their message was simple and appealing. The universe is dangerous, aliens cannot be trusted, and humanity must be strong. They showed footage of the Retribution facing down the Zaltharan vessels, spinning it as brave defenders protecting innocent diplomats. We didn't need protecting, Elena muttered, watching a news broadcast of one such rally. The Zaltharans were our friends. We're being the key word, Chen said. I've been monitoring their communications. They've closed their borders completely. No ships in or out. They're genuinely afraid of us now. Elena pulled up the latest diplomatic reports. Every attempt to contact the Zaltharans had been ignored. Every message to other species in the Galactic Forum went unanswered. It was like humanity had been erased from the galaxy's awareness, blocked and blacklisted by civilizations they had never even met. The economic consequences were becoming clear. Scientists who had been preparing to study Zaltharan biotechnology found their projects canceled. Companies that had planned to trade with alien civilizations watched their investments evaporate. The faster-than-light drive that had opened the stars to humanity now seemed useless. They could travel anywhere, but nobody wanted them to visit. There's something else, Chen said, pulling up a document on Elena's screen. The archivists have taken an interest. Elena's blood ran cold. Even she had heard of the archivists. They were an ancient species, possibly the oldest in the galaxy. They didn't govern or interfere, but they watched. They kept records of every species, every civilization's rise and fall. They were observers of cosmic history. What did they say? Humanity has been placed on the probationary list. It's a designation for species that show potential, but also show dangerous tendencies. We're being quarantined while they decide if we're going to mature into a civilized species or become another galactic threat that needs to be contained. Contained, Elena repeated. What does that mean? Nobody knows for sure. The archivists don't share their methods, but species on the probationary list are monitored closely. Their expansion is limited. If they show signs of becoming aggressors, the archivists have ways of dealing with them. Elena stood and walked to the window. Outside, the city continued its daily rhythm. People went to work, children played in parks, life went on. They had no idea that humanity's future had been decided in the span of 5 days, in a star system most of them couldn't find on a map. A news alert flashed across her screen. Admiral Caney was giving an interview on the largest network. Elena turned up the volume despite knowing it would only make her angry. The way I see it, Caney was saying to a sympathetic interviewer, we dodged a bullet. These aliens wanted to study us to understand our weaknesses. They painted themselves as peaceful, but who's to say what their real intentions were? By showing strength immediately, we established that humanity won't be pushed around. That's not aggression. That's survival. The interviewer nodded enthusiastically. So you believe you protected Earth? I know I did. Look at history. Every time a more advanced civilization meets a less advanced one, the weaker civilization gets conquered or destroyed. We're the new kids in a very old galaxy. If we show weakness now, we'll be slaves or corpses within a generation. Better to be feared and alive than trusted and dead. Elena turned off the broadcast. The logic was seductive in its simplicity. Fear was easier than trust. Weapons were more tangible than words. Caney's worldview was one humanity had lived with for thousands of years. The strong survive, the weak perish, and peace is just the pause between conflicts. But it was wrong. Elena had seen another way during those 5 perfect days with the Zoltharans. She had witnessed a civilization that had transcended violence, that had built wonders through cooperation rather than conquest. She had glimpsed what humanity could become if they were brave enough to choose a different path. Her communicator buzzed. It was a priority message from Earth Command, marked urgent. Elena opened it, expecting another round of debriefings or political interrogations. Instead, she found orders recalling her to active duty. Not as a captain. As a civilian consultant, they were removing her from command permanently, blaming her for the first contact disaster. The official report stated that she had failed to properly secure the contact zone and had allowed an unauthorized military vessel to interfere. Elena read the words twice, trying to process them. They were making her the scapegoat. Admiral Caney got parades and interviews while she got discharged. The military faction was rewriting history, erasing their responsibility for the disaster. I'm sorry, Chen said softly. She had been reading over Elena's shoulder. This isn't right. Nothing about this is right, Elena replied. She closed the document and pulled up her personal files. Somewhere in her records were the original mission parameters, the communications with Earth Command. The evidence that would prove Caney's arrival was planned by his faction months in advance. What are you doing? Chen asked. Looking for proof. Caney didn't just show up by accident. Someone sent him. Someone in Earth's government wanted first contact to fail, or at least wanted it to happen with a warship present. If I can prove that, maybe we can fix this. Even if you prove it, will anyone care? Half the planet thinks Caney is a hero. Elena pulled up a message one she had received 3 days ago and hadn't had the courage to open. The sender was listed as anonymous, the routing complex, and encrypted. She clicked it open. The message was brief, written in carefully constructed English that had obviously been translated from another language. Captain Vasquez. Not all Zoltharans agree with Elder Thessian's decision. Some of us still believe in humanity's potential. We are few, but we exist. Do not give up hope. The path to redemption is narrow, but it exists. Perhaps we will speak again. Vera Elena read the message 3 times. Somewhere out there, at least one Zoltharan still believed in humanity. One voice saying that the door wasn't completely closed, that forgiveness might be possible. It wasn't much. But it was something. "Chen," Elena said, turning to face her friend, "how would you like to help me commit career suicide?" "I think my career is already dead," Chen replied with a grim smile. "What did you have in mind?" "We're going to prove that Kaney's faction sabotaged First Contact. Then we're going to find a way to reach back out to the Zoltharans. And we're going to fix this mess even if Earth Command tries to stop us." "That's insane. We have no authority, no ship, no support." "I know," Elena said, "but we have the truth. And we have at least one alien who still believes in us. That has to count for something." Outside, the sun was setting over the city. Somewhere above the atmosphere, beyond the orbit of the moon, the stars waited. The galaxy had turned its back on humanity, but Elena wasn't ready to accept that judgment as final. The peaceful first encounter had been shattered. But maybe, just maybe, it could be rebuilt. 6 months after the disastrous First Contact, Earth's economy was in crisis. The stock markets had crashed when investors realized that alien technology and trade partnerships were not coming. Universities that had prepared entire departments for xenobiology and alien studies found their funding cut. Research grants disappeared. The golden age of interstellar cooperation that everyone had expected turned into a bitter period of isolation. Elena Vasquez worked from a small apartment in Chicago, no longer welcome at Earth Command facilities. She spent her days digging through classified documents, following digital trails, and building a case that nobody wanted to hear. Dr. Chen worked alongside her, the two of them surviving on savings and stubborn determination. "Found another one," Chen said, pointing at her screen. "Communication between Admiral Kaney and Senator Williams, dated 3 months before First Contact. Williams is asking about military readiness for potential alien threats. Kaney responds that the Retribution will be ready to deploy." Elena added it to the growing pile of evidence. They had messages, orders, planning documents, and even budget allocations. The picture was clear. A faction within Earth's government had never intended to let First Contact proceed peacefully. They had sent Elena and the Olive Branch as a test, but they had always planned to follow up with military presence. "They were afraid," Elena said, reading through the documents again. "Genuinely terrified that humanity would be at a disadvantage if we appeared weak. They thought they were protecting Earth." "Good intentions," Chen muttered. "That's what makes it worse. They really believed this was the right move." A message alert chimed. Elena's heart jumped when she saw the sender. Vera. The young Zaltharan had been making contact sporadically, using heavily encrypted channels. Each message was brief and cautious, but they represented the only connection humanity still had with the Galactic Forum. "Captain Vasquez, the debate continues among my people. Elder Thessian maintains that humanity is too dangerous for contact. But others, especially younger Zaltharans, argue that judging all humans by one warship is unfair. We are divided. If you could prove that the warship's arrival was not approved by your entire government, it might change minds. But you must act quickly. The archivists are preparing their final assessment of humanity." Elena read the message aloud. Chen leaned back in her chair, looking exhausted. "Final assessment," Chen said. "That sounds permanent." "It is. Once the archivists make a ruling on a species, it stands for generations. If they classify humanity as a threat species, we'll be quarantined to our own solar system, maybe for centuries." Elena stood and walked to the window. Outside, the city was coming alive with morning traffic. Millions of people going about their lives, unaware that their species' future was being decided by ancient aliens in a distant part of the galaxy. Her communicator buzzed again. This time it was a number she recognized. James Park, her former communications officer from the Olive Branch. "Captain, you need to see the news. Now." Elena turned on the screen. A breaking news report showed Admiral Kaney at a military ceremony, receiving humanity's highest honor for valor. The president himself was pinning the medal to Kaney's uniform while thousands cheered. In recognition of his brave actions protecting humanity's First Contact team, the president was saying, "Admiral Kaney exemplifies the best of human courage and wisdom. His quick thinking may have saved countless lives." "Saved lives," Elena whispered, "from the friendliest species we've ever met. But worse was coming." The president continued. "As we face an uncertain galactic future, I am promoting Admiral Kaney to head of the new Department of Extraterrestrial Defense. He will oversee all future contact protocols and military readiness for alien encounters. Elena felt the room spin. They were putting Caney in charge. The man who had destroyed First Contact was now responsible for all future alien relations. It was madness, but it made a twisted kind of sense. Half of Earth believed Caney's narrative. The galaxy is dangerous, aliens cannot be trusted, and strength is the only language the universe understands. We have to do something, Chen said. We have to stop this. Elena made a decision that she knew would change everything. She pulled up the flight schedules for spacecraft leaving Earth. Most were cargo vessels or research ships, but one caught her eye. The Olive Branch was still in mothballs at the lunar station, deemed too expensive to scrap and too politically sensitive to use. Chen, how would you feel about stealing a spaceship? I'd feel better about it if you were joking. I'm not. The Olive Branch is just sitting there. We know that ship inside and out. We can fly her with a skeleton crew. Where would we go? The Zaltharans won't meet with us. Nobody will. Then we go to them uninvited. We take the evidence, we broadcast continuously, and we don't stop until someone listens. It's a long shot, but it's the only shot we have. Chen stared at her for a long moment. You realize this is career suicide? Actual suicide, probably. If Earth Command catches us, we'll spend the rest of our lives in prison. If the Zaltharans decide we're a threat, they might destroy us. I know. But what's the alternative? We sit here while Caney and his faction guarantee that humanity stays isolated forever. We watch as every door in the galaxy closes because nobody wants to gamble on us. I can't do that, Chen. I can't just give up. Over the next week, Elena quietly contacted the old crew of the Olive Branch. Most were scattered across Earth, many having been reassigned or discharged like her. But when she reached out explaining her plan, they started to respond. James Park signed on immediately. I didn't spend 5 years training for First Contact just to watch it all burn. I'm in. Dr. Martinez, their lead scientist, was more cautious. This could start an interstellar incident. Earth might see it as treason. Earth already started the incident, Elena replied. We're just trying to end it peacefully. One by one, 23 members of the original crew agreed to join. They were volunteers, knowing they might never see Earth again. Some had families they would leave behind. Others had careers they were sacrificing. But they all believed in the original mission: peace, friendship, and humanity's place in the galactic community. Getting access to the Olive Branch was easier than expected. The lunar station was lightly guarded, and many of the security personnel remembered the crew. Some even helped, quietly looking the other way as the team smuggled supplies aboard. On the night they launched, Elena sat in the captain's chair one more time. The bridge looked exactly as she remembered, except now it felt like a shrine to a lost dream. All systems ready, Park reported. We can launch in 5 minutes. Earth Command is going to notice us the moment we fire engines, Chen warned. I know. Send a message to Vera first. Let her know we're coming. Then send a message to Earth Command explaining what we're doing and why. What should I tell them? Elena thought for a moment. Tell them that some humans refuse to let fear define humanity's future. Tell them we're going to prove that peace is possible, even if we have to do it alone. The Olive Branch lifted off from the lunar station, its engines burning bright against the darkness. Within minutes, every communication channel exploded with demands to return. Earth Command ordered them back. Military vessels scrambled to intercept. The president himself issued a statement calling Elena and her crew traitors. But the Olive Branch had a head start, and Elena knew the ship's capabilities better than anyone. They reached FTL before the pursuit vessels could intercept. As the stars stretched into lines around them, Elena allowed herself a moment of doubt. She had just made herself the most wanted fugitive in human space. She had stolen a ship, defied orders, and was leading 23 loyal crew members into potential disaster. But she had also just given humanity one last chance at redemption. One last opportunity to prove that humans could choose cooperation over fear, peace over strength, and hope over despair. Behind them, Earth was erupting in chaos. Admiral Caney was mobilizing a fleet to hunt them down. Politicians were debating whether to charge them with treason or terrorism. News networks were running constant coverage of the rogue captain who had stolen a spaceship. Ahead of them, somewhere in the darkness between stars, the Zaltharan collective waited. Whether they would listen or destroy the Olive Branch remained to be seen. Elena took a deep breath and activated the ship-wide communication system. This is Captain Vasquez to all crew. Thank you for believing in this mission. Thank you for believing in peace. Whatever happens next, know that you're the best of humanity. The galaxy will see that, even if Earth doesn't. The olive branch sailed towards Altharan space, a tiny ship carrying humanity's last hope for redemption. The olive branch drifted at the edge of Zaltharan space, engines cold, weapons systems disabled, broadcasting continuously on every frequency. Captain Elena Vasquez had ordered all non-essential systems shut down to conserve power. They had been waiting for 3 days without response. Still nothing, James Park reported from the communication station. His voice was hoarse from exhaustion. The Zaltharans know we're here. Their sensors are tracking us. They're just not responding. Elena stared at the view screen showing the distant purple star that marked Zaltharan territory. Somewhere in that system, the Elder Council was debating what to do about the human ship that had appeared uninvited at their border. Keep broadcasting. Every hour on the hour. I want them to know we're not going away. Dr. Chen entered the bridge carrying coffee and looking worried. We've got another problem. Earth Command found us. Admiral Kaney's fleet just dropped out of FTL 10 million kilometers behind us. 5 ships, all military. Elena had known this was coming, but it still felt like a punch to the gut. She pulled up the tactical display. Sure enough, 5 Earth vessels were arranging themselves in a pursuit formation. The Retribution led them, Admiral Kaney's flagship looking just as menacing as it had 6 months ago. Open a channel to Kaney's ship, Elena ordered. The Admiral's scarred face appeared on screen, and he looked genuinely angry rather than his usual cold calculation. Captain Vasquez, you've made yourself a traitor and a thief. Power down your vessel and prepare to be boarded. If you cooperate, the court-martial might show leniency. I'm not coming back, Admiral. Not until I've had a chance to speak with the Zaltharans. The Zaltharans don't want to speak with you. They don't want anything to do with humanity, thanks to our show of strength. Which I might add was the correct decision. We don't need aliens. We can build our own future, isolated and alone. Is that the future you want for humanity? Kaney's expression hardened. Better alone and strong than together and weak. History doesn't remember the civilizations that trusted their enemies. It remembers the ones that survived. The Zaltharans weren't our enemies. They were our friends until you made them afraid of us. Fear equals respect in the real world, Captain. You'll understand that someday if you live long enough. Now stand down. That's an order. I stopped taking your orders when you destroyed 6 months of diplomatic work in 5 minutes. Kaney's jaw clenched. I'm authorizing the use of force if necessary. Don't make me fire on a human vessel. The channel cut off. Elena turned to her crew. They looked scared but determined, each one having made the choice to follow her into this impossible situation. He's bluffing, Chen said. He can't fire on us. Not in Zaltharan space. It would make the situation even worse. Maybe, Elena replied. Or maybe he thinks destroying us will show the Zaltharans that Earth doesn't tolerate traitors. Either way, we can't run. The olive branch is unarmed and slower than those military ships. Park suddenly sat up straight at his station. Captain, we're receiving a transmission. It's from the Zaltharan homeworld. Audio only, Elena's heart raced. Put it through. Elder Thessian's voice filled the bridge, musical and sad. Captain Vasquez, why have you returned to our space? You were told to leave and not return. Elder Thessian, I came to show you proof. Proof that Admiral Kaney's arrival was not approved by all of humanity. A faction within our government sent him, but many of us opposed it. We've been trying to undo the damage ever since. Words are easy, Captain. Your species is talented at words, but actions reveal truth. You arrived in peace before, yet a warship followed. How can we trust you now? Because this time I came without permission, Elena said. I stole this ship. I defied my government's orders. My crew and I are considered criminals now. If we return to Earth, we'll be imprisoned. We gave up everything to have this conversation with you. There was a long silence. Elena imagined the Elder Council conferring, their skin patterns shifting with the complex emotions of their discussion. You sacrificed your freedom to speak with us? Thessian's voice carried surprise. That is unexpected. Elder, I have evidence that proves a faction within Earth's government planned to send the Retribution from the beginning. They sabotaged First Contact because they were afraid. Not evil, not malicious, just afraid. Fear made them believe that showing strength was the same as ensuring safety. And you? What do you believe, Captain? Elena took a deep breath. I believe humanity is at a crossroads. We can choose fear, like Admiral Kaney and his supporters. We can build bigger weapons, trust no one, and face the universe as if it's an enemy. Or we can choose something harder. We can choose to be vulnerable, to trust, to grow beyond our violent past. That's the humanity I believe in. That's the humanity I'm fighting for. Beautiful words again, Thessian said, but there was less coldness in the elder's voice. But your own warships pursue you even now. We see them on our sensors. They will capture or kill you, and then what? Will your sacrifice change anything? Before Elena could respond, Admiral Caney's voice overrode the channel. Elder Thessian, this is Admiral Marcus Caney of Earth's military. Captain Vasquez is a rogue element. She does not speak for humanity or our government. Her actions here are criminal, and we request permission to enter your space to retrieve her. Denied, Thessian said firmly. You will not bring your warships into Zaltharan territory. Once was enough. Then we'll wait at the border until she comes out. Vasquez, you can't stay there forever. You'll run out of supplies, and then you'll have to choose. Surrender or die. Elena felt the trap closing. Caney was right. They had maybe 2 weeks of supplies left. The Zaltharans were not going to let them dock at their stations. Earth's fleet would wait at the border for as long as necessary. Perhaps I can help, a new voice said over the communications channel. It was younger than Thessian, speaking English with a slight musical accent. Elder Thessian, this is Vera. I request permission to speak. Elena recognized the name. Her secret contact, the young Zaltharan who had been sending messages of hope. Vera? Thessian sounded surprised. This is a council matter. Why do you intrude? Because I have been speaking with Captain Vasquez for months. I have read the evidence she mentioned. She sent me documents, communications, and proof that shows Admiral Caney acted against many humans' wishes. The warship's arrival was planned by a small group, not approved by humanity's majority. You have been in contact with the humans? Thessian's voice carried shock. Why was I not informed? Because you forbade all contact, Elder. But I believed then, and I believe now, that not all humans are the same. Captain Vasquez risked everything to return here. That is not the action of someone who means us harm. Elena could hear what sounded like intense debate in the background, multiple Zaltharan voices speaking over each other. Finally, Thessian spoke again. Captain Vasquez, what you have done is either very brave or very foolish. You have defied your government, stolen a vessel, and led your crew into danger. You have no authority to speak for Earth. That's true, Elena admitted. I can only speak for myself and the 23 humans who chose to come with me. But sometimes that's enough. Sometimes change starts with a small group willing to do what's right even when it's hard. More debate in the background. Then Thessian spoke words Elena had not dared hope for. We will meet with you. Send your evidence to these coordinates. We will study it. If what you say is true, if this Admiral Caney and his faction acted without full support, then perhaps there is hope for future contact. But understand, Captain, this does not mean humanity is forgiven. It means we are willing to listen. That's all I ask, Elder. A chance to prove that humanity can choose peace. You will remain at the border. You will not approach our worlds. If you violate this restriction, we will consider it an act of aggression. Understood. Thank you, Elder Thessian. The channel switched back to Caney's flagship. The Admiral looked furious. What did you promise them, Vasquez? What lies did you tell to buy yourself time? No lies, Admiral. Just the truth. Something you should try sometime. I'm authorizing my ships to create a blockade. You're not getting past us. I don't need to get past you. I just need the Zaltharans to understand that not all humans think like you do. Over the next week, Elena transmitted every piece of evidence she and Chen had collected. Planning documents, communications between Caney and his supporters, budget allocations for the Retribution's deployment, testimony from crew members who had overheard conversations. It painted a clear picture. A faction within Earth's government had hijacked First Contact for their own agenda. The Zaltharan Council studied everything. Meanwhile, tensions rose at the border. Admiral Caney's fleet maintained their blockade. But they couldn't enter Zaltharan space without risking an interstellar incident. The standoff stretched into its second week. Earth's government was in chaos. Some politicians called for Elena's immediate arrest. Others praised her as a hero standing up for true peace. Public opinion was divided down the middle, with mass protest happening in every major city. Half the planet wanted Caney's aggressive stance. The other half wanted Elena's diplomatic approach. Thank you for watching and comment for next part.